Disturbing news out of Afghanistan. A 6-year-old Afghan boy claims the Taliban tried to trick him into carrying out a suicide bombing against U.S. troops. Little Juma Gul says Taliban fighters forced him to wear a vest they said would spray flowers when he hit a button. He claims he was told to go into a local office and hit the button when he got close to a lot of Americans. He said when he realized that he was wearing a bomb, he went for help.
This is one incident. We hope it doesn't repeat itself, but it gives us reason to pause, to be extra careful. We want to publicize this as much as we can to the Afghan people so that they can protect their children.
Hello. Today I'm going to be talking to you all about the Taliban and their background, their history, and a few changes they've made throughout the years and their effects on the world. First of all, what does Taliban mean? Well, simply put, it means religious students. The Taliban formed around 1979 when the Soviet Union started kind of invading Afghanistan. The Soviets began forming a regime in Kabul, which is the capital of Afghanistan. In those years, Afghanistan actually had support from the U.S., Pakistan, Iran, China, and Saudi Arabia. Well, due to our support and, well, basically the Soviets set up their government, the Soviet troops withdrew. The actual Taliban rise to power began when Ahmad Shah Massoud led a government into Kabul to start trying to bring up the Taliban government and get rid of the Soviet government. In the early 1990s, they tried to set up a government, but they really weren't successful because when the Taliban actually came to be, they were kind of replacing the religious warlords that were around at that time, and they weren't able to completely overthrow them. But what they did do good is they replaced the warlords in some areas, and by replacing the warlords, they eliminated corruption, they restored peace, and allowed for commerce to resume in areas of Afghanistan. A lot of this change was enabled by the interpretation of the Sharia by Mullah Muhammad Omar. A lot of Omar's interpretations of the law, well, I just think they were bad, to tell you the truth. Not only did he begin doing public execution and prosecution in soccer stadiums, he took away people's rights to fly kites with their children and watch television, pretty much do any recreational activity that they would like to do. Men were required to wear beards. The part that really kind of sparked my attention was how women were treated. They were forbidden to go to school, they were forbidden to go to work, and they had to be accompanied by a male everywhere they went. I have a picture of fingernail polish up here. I read in one of my sources that if a woman painted her fingernails, her fingers would be chopped off. And the reason for this was to safeguard their honor and them, to make sure they were safe. I don't know about you guys, but, you know, I don't think nail polish makes me unsafe, but that's their belief, so we'll go with that. A majority of Afghanistan's income came from smuggling operations and opium cultivation. Well, in 2000, international scrutiny came upon Afghanistan, and basically they had to cut their production. Well, they claimed that they cut their opium cultivation by 2/3. The problem with this is it took the Afghanistan people's jobs away. They didn't have an income anymore. So that was really bad. Some of the effects that the Taliban's had on the world are obviously the 9/11 attacks on the U.S. And before these attacks, the only three countries that recognized Afghanistan's Taliban as the legitimate government were Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and the United Arab Emirates. Well, when this happened here in America, Saudi Arabia and UAE said, hey, we're out. We're cutting all diplomatic ties with you. We are not going to support you anymore. And that's one of the main things that brought the Taliban into public view in the United States. And in the world, for that matter. From 1994 to 2001, the Taliban was thought to have housed Osama bin Laden and other members of Al-Qaeda. Today I've told you a little bit about the Taliban to include their background, a little bit of their changes throughout history, and their effect on our world. I would like to leave you with my favorite quote. I disapprove with what you say, but I will defend to your death the right to say it. Voltaire.